Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be diving deeper into the Outriders demo and also letting you know a few things that I know personally just from keeping up on the game, of things that are to be looked forward to going into after you finish the game. Something that they didn't really lay out there during the demo or really talk about if you haven't, tracked this game outside of the demo. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's take a look. Alright guys, so if you don't know what Outriders is yet, you need to watch my previous video on my complete demo playthrough. You don't have to watch the entire thing, but at least to get the feel of what the game is, what it's about. And it is available on the Xbox store, PlayStation store, Steam as well. So if you want to try it out before it releases this Thursday, I'll probably be releasing this video here somewhat prior to that release date, which is the 1st of April. But go ahead and try it out if you haven't. It's a really good game. Basically, what this is an RPG co-op cover-based shooter. And the game itself can be played completely single player. You don't need anybody else to play the game, but it is recommended just because there are certain elements that are harder to do, such as like Destiny does require you to have 6 people in order to do the raids. I mean, there's probably ways you can do it without 6, but you need 6 people. Regardless of that, this is full drop in, drop out experience with Outriders. You don't need anybody besides yourself if you don't want to complete the entire game. So if you don't know a little bit about Outriders, what it is basically Earth sucked. Way left to find a better place. But come to find out that this place sucks just as bad and there's some sort of weird anomaly going on. And so we're trying to recorrect humanity. And so going back to how it reminds me a little bit of Destiny, right, is the fact that it has different classes that you pick from. You have a Technomancer, Pyromancer, Trickster, and a Devastator. And those all depend on what kind of play style that you have in order to, figure out what character that you should play. So like the Technomancer is mainly for a long range support group, like from you have to help out, other players, have more of a sit back and be a protector that way. Whereas the Pyromancer is kind of like a little bit more of all around, sort of mid-range to close range, I like to say. It does have some really cool abilities. I haven't played the Pyromancer too much myself yet. And then you have the Trickster and the Devastator that are both close range. The Devastator is more of a tank, whereas the Trickster is more of a kind of magician-like. It does a little bit more of this teleportation, kind of get in, get out real quick. And then again, the Devastator is more of a tank, kind of made for going in like guns blazing, shotgun style. That's how I play it personally. That's the one that I chose from the beginning because I like that kind of a play style, just kind of more run and gun and just blasting on through with everything there. So with the different classes, that's where it kind of goes back to the different elements of how it's kind of like Destiny, but more of a mix between Gears of War and Borderlands from what I've heard. And I mean, I can kind of see that from how I've played. I would say more of a Gears of War mixed with Destiny just because of those different classes and how they kind of work together in that fashion. But also depending on the class that you pick, depends on how you get health. So the reason why these have these different, this is close range, this is long range, this is mid range, is because that's how you gain health. So you only gain health by getting kills at a certain distance or doing it a certain way. So like the Devastator is only going to gain health from getting close range kills, and there's a little signifier that lets you're within that range to be able to get your health back. So playing your different abilities right, as well as playing or just the shooting mechanics, that's what's going to help you gain health back faster. That's what's going to help you survive during these different missions that you go through. So okay, diving deeper into the demo in my first playthrough. So if you didn't watch the demo, basically the class that I did pick was the Devastator class, and I again basically like this class just because it's more of a run and gun, like Doom kind of style fighting where you just kind of run in and it up, right? So, but rumor has it that just like me, and if you watch that video, I did it a little bit, but Playthrough takes about 3 hours to play. So if you are still debating on whether or not you should get Outriders, it's only going to take you 3 hours to decide whether or not you like it or not. Might even take you sooner, but it only takes you 3 hours to play through the entire demo. So, but it just represents only a fraction of the game. So there's already a lot of trash talk about the game already. I mean, like, the thing that my personal experience with demos or betas that have come out, if you never played Anthem, that was probably the worst game pre-release that I have ever played in my entire life. Like, stucking at loading screens where you couldn't even load in the game. You had to hard reset your Xbox. That's where I played the Anthem beta on. To just certain portions of the game that were broken, or you just all of a sudden crash or disconnect from a server. You know, that in my opinion does not compare to this game at all as far as readiness. So people are saying, oh, you know, it's just another basic looter shooter. No, personally, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of potential with this game, especially what we're going to be diving down into deeper a little bit after I talk more about the demo itself and what's available after that 40 hours of campaign. Yes, I said 40 hours of campaign plus more. The demo gives you a good feel, though, of the game, and especially if you need a reminder on how to play a cover-based shooter. I know that really the only cover-based shooter I played was Gears of War, so just having a good reminder of, like, okay, yeah, moving from cover to cover, you only want to peek this way, that way, stuff like that, especially peeking around corners. I guess not just Gears of War, but The Division was probably the last cover-based shooter game I did play. So the demo's really good at reminding you how to play that kind of a play style, as well as everything that you do in the demo, it gets carried over into the main game. So a lot of people are farming hours upon hours on this one little cheese spot in the demo that has a higher rarity drop of getting legendaries, and you can really just do this little rinse and repeat farm, you know, kind of like you do in Borderlands if you're trying to farm certain areas to get certain guns too. I personally didn't do it that long. I did it for a little bit just to see, but I'm not going to waste too much time. And also, I just feel like that takes away from the game itself later on, with, you know, going into the game having this legendary gun. It's not going to benefit you if, you know, you're already to that certain point. You know what I mean? So I'm going to wait until the actual game is released to try and get that gun, or guns, whichever. All right, guys, so let's talk world tier systems. So the demo lets you play up to world tier 5, and the different tiers that you play in dictate, you know, what level the enemies are, what level the items that are dropped are in comparison to yours as well too, whether or not it's rare or not. So basically, you know, an uncommon or higher, what percentage of drops that you're going to get there, as well as, you know, your legendary drop rate, which is very lower percentage. And I like that that's a separate percentage, because that guarantees that you are going to get a legendary at some point. You know, it might take a while, but unlike, for instance, Anthem, a very big fail of where people were grinding for hours, me personally, and never got a legendary item. You know, unless you played like, you know, 40 times more than the average person should. You know, it should be that there should be a consistent drop rate out of, like, yeah, so many hours put in, but there should be a chance every time you play, and not just, you know, in the whole mix-up pool. So I do like how there is a separate drop rate modifier for the legendary weapons, as well as different world tiers that you go in, you know, what the max level gear that you can wear while in that world, as well as every tier that you unlock for the different worlds does have a reward for getting to that point. So, you know, as well as ranking up your character, unlocking those different world tiers, you are getting bonuses on top of that too. So there are a lot of different rewards that you get in the game for completing different things, even such as, you know, unlocking these new world tiers. Okay, so next, let's talk about the different skills that you have for each character. So each character has a different skills room. We can see at this point that you can mix and match up to 3 different ones. In the demo, you can only unlock up to 4, but you can customize them however you like, depending on your playstyle. Now, personally, I like to do, at least for the Devastator, the other characters I haven't played too much, but I definitely will as soon as the game fully releases. But as for the Devastator, I think the Earthquake Gravity Leap with Reflect Bullets is the best combo. And if you watch the demo, you can see why a little bit more. I played a little bit more with it after I played on stream for the first time through the demo, but that is what I can say is my favorite combo of all three of those. Now you can rebind each of these different abilities to whatever keybind you want. Personally, I like QEC. I think that does have the best all-around way to use them and combo them to your full advantage there. But you can do it however you want. And then outside of the different skills, you have different, as you progress and rank up, you unlock different skill tree sets that you can basically build your way up to. It does not have to be one certain direction. You can mix and match however you want, but there's 3 different main builds that you can go for. So for instance, for the Devastator, you can see here that we have the Vanquisher, Warden, and the Seismic Shifter. Those are the 3 main builds. Depending on what you would like to use for your different abilities and your playstyle, that's what you would build towards. Okay, so along with the different skills and classes that you can customize however you want, you have different accolades that are available. So basically, for your achievement hunters out there, my buddy Austin always likes to platinum different games on PlayStation. So this is something he's going to really love as soon as he gets to a certain spot in the game where he's content of like, okay, now let's focus on a certain challenge, just so he can see that 100% mark, because I know he really likes that. I like that too, especially for these kind of games, and I might really dive into really trying to unlock everything with this game. So for this specifically, you have different things to do in combat, or your progression system, or the different characters that you're hunting, whether it's the certain enemy type, or if you're working together, doing things, or just gathering certain items if there's certain items you haven't unlocked yet, or class specific accolades as well too. And those all play into the different rewards for your level as well. So getting different accolades does help you progress towards your character's level in that aspect as well too. All right, next let's talk about gear. So you have your primary weapon, secondary weapon, and your sidearm, all which play into your overall firepower score, as well as additionally your helmet, chest piece, legs, gloves, and boots play into your total armor score. And depending on what the different mods and other things, your anomaly power and health are affected accordingly to what you're wearing or using as a weapon. Okay, and then the vendors are used to obviously buy different things, right? And so buying different things from vendors requires different currency. You get different currency either by dismantling or by earning them through different rewards that you get. Going back to those world tier unlocks that you get certain things like scrap, which is a type of currency that you would use for vendors in that fashion. Another way to be able to get other items to buy things from vendors or whatever it is, whether it's upgrading, which we haven't really seen too much of that yet, but we'll get to that in a second from what I've seen. But it is one of the fastest looters that I have played, and why I say that is because you can mark whatever you want as junk, and then you can go ahead and press one button and dismantle all of the different ones that you labeled as junk. So it's not just like, there are certain things labeled as junk, like in Borderlands or what is it? I think Fallout. I think Borderlands might have a similar system, but this one's definitely the best one that I've used in comparison. But just having a little PTSD from all the different gear that I would get in Borderlands, trying to dismantle all that, oh my gosh, can't tell you how much time I spent doing that. So really awesome design, I would say, from the dismantling portion and being able to keep things nice and clean and organized. I think they are going to update a little bit more to get it more organized than it is. But for right now, for what I've played in the demo, it's not that bad at all. Okay, and lastly, the one thing I want to talk about before we dive into some of the things that aren't talked about in the demo is interrupts and resistance. And what I mean by that is using some of your abilities isn't just like button mashing like some other dungeon crawlers are. And there's certain enemies that you can block or interrupt moves that would otherwise do more damage if you didn't. So really paying attention to, I'm going to put an image up on the screen here of what that shows you for how to use some of those different abilities to interrupt, but also taking note that if you are taking a long time to defeat this enemy and you keep trying the same things over and over again, it does build up resistance. So it is more of an AI that does learn based on your moves. So the same thing that you do multiple times over and over again to try and, interrupt whatever skill that it's trying to use on you may not work every time. So really cool because it keeps the game fresh and new. The same thing doesn't work 90% of the time, or it might work 90% of the time, but there is 10% of the time that it might not work. So I really like that factor. All right, so that's just about it for what's inside the demo, what you guys can experience. I want to let you know a little bit about some of the things that I know about that are not specifically in the demo. Okay, so you see that truck that you travel in, going to different places in Enoch, right? In the demo, you saw that just a little bit there, but you can actually customize that truck that takes you different places and show off different trophies that you've earned, whatever that may be. I'm not sure what those are just yet, or other cool cosmetic items that you've earned, just kind of like customizing your character, showing off cool items that way. But that is the first one of two things I want to talk about. The second one is probably the most important, and that is what the end game is built around, at least this far in the game for what we know and what we have to look forward to, and that is expeditions. So after 40 hours of campaign, there's even more. So you're thinking that you've established yourself with everything that you've done already with those 40 hours or however long it takes to get through the campaign? No, that is just the beginning. The next step after that, you move to a new camp with new locations that you can travel to. It's all new, handcrafted levels, no recycled content, with their own mechanics, challenges, and storyline that you have to look forward to. Okay, so these challenge tiers are what they are. They're basically rewards. It rewards you with better loot based on how fast you can complete the mission. And this works because you won't gain any loot during that expedition for these different ones that you choose to, for these different missions. You gain it at the very end. So it's kind of like a giant chest full of different loot. And so, you actually get rewarded for doing it fast. So, a lot of people like to take their time through certain levels. I mean, Diablo, once you've already played through it, right? Then you're all just trying to blast through as fast as you can because you want to get that end game loot. So this is like the same aspect for that. And also, I believe this entails why they do it this way is because it's a lot harder to farm without going through the whole thing. There's no cheese spot. You'd have to actually finish the game and get that loot. So people can't just, try and cheese things like they're doing with the demo right now. So you're completing, gaining tiers, unlocking more locations throughout the expeditions. So there's going to be 15 locations total, so 15 different world tiers to unlock during expeditions, 14 available at launch, and then the 15th one probably later. I want to say give it a month or two before they actually release it, but that 15th world tier is going to be called the Eye of the Storm. Okay, so that's going to be the highest tier, bring your best gear possible level to be able to do. So I'm excited for when that releases, once I get to that point, because that is, once you complete that, those are the trophies you're going to be putting on that truck, whatever it's called, little van thing that you travel around in. That's where you're going to show off all your badass gear, where you're joining into, whether it's random people or your friends, be like, oh damn, look at those cosmetics he has. That means he's completed that level. Going back to the world tier system just for a brief moment again. So just like how we went through all the different world tiers before, in the demo, only up to level 5, this is going to have 15 additional tiers to get through to get to the next max level, which is level 50. So your character can only get up to level 30 during the main campaign, but here in expeditions, you get another 20 levels to upgrade to get even better gear than you had before, to get to the max level 50 before you try on Eye of the Storm. So let's talk about crafting. So when it comes to crafting, there's a couple different things that you can do. So you have your different mods, depending on what tier you can apply to them. The higher the tier, obviously just like world tiers, the better the modification is. And depending on the rarity of your weapon, the more mods you can apply. And also with the crafting side of things, with mods, you can change what rarity, you can improve the rarity of your gun, you can change how your weapon shoots, and much more. So your gun can be entirely different than your buddy's gun, and you guys could have the same exact gun, but it shoots completely different. You know, it's made for long range or it's made for short range, have a higher fire rate, or, you know, whatever it is. But really awesome because there were, just from the different pictures I've seen, there was a lot of different modifications that you have to choose from and making these guns completely different. So again, entirely different builds for everybody, for different potential that you have. That's through the roof. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can reset that skill tree at any time with no cost. So if you want to change up entirely how you built your character, you can on the fly. All right, guys, so that is my little overview on what I think you guys need to know with what's in the demo already, what's not in the demo, if you are looking at deciding whether or not you should get this game. And also, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you are going to get this game, what character you're going to try out first. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to follow me on Twitch. We go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays as of right now. So just make sure you are followed so that you get the notification when we do go live. So until next time, guys, peace.